And we're back with case study number 2 from this chapter, which is Kate's blog. Again, that's on page 129 out of section 3.6.4. So I'm going to go ahead and read out the case study, and then we'll do, again, the same kind of analysis as before. Now, normally we do these in a discussion-based format, talking about whether or not you agree and getting you guys to apply these theories yourself. In this format, it's a little bit harder to get you all to do that, so I'm going to just go over the theories and see how we go through applying them. And you can use these as kind of a reference for how you should be applying theories when you're doing your ethics prompts. That's part of the reason I'm going through this process. But I also want you all to discuss whether or not you agree with these particular assessments of the case studies with your groups, with each other. I want you to post your thoughts to the discussion zone. I want you to share your notes on the different ways in which these theories get applied, because that's a really important part of this course. You aren't being graded on that, so it's really low stakes, as in no stakes. What it will do, though, is better prepare you for the exam, the midterm exam, which we have coming up, as well as all of the ethics prompts that you will be doing in this course. So again, let's go over the Kate's blog case study on page 129 of the textbook in chapter 3. All right, so Kate is a journalism major who maintains a popular blog focusing on campus life. Kate attends a private birthday party in someone's apartment for her friend Jerry, a college student active in the Whig Party on campus. Someone gives Jerry a Tory Party t-shirt as a gag gift, and Jerry puts it on. Kate uses her cell phone to get a picture of Jerry wearing the t-shirt when he's looking the other way. Jerry gives Kate a ride home after the party, but she does not tell him about the photo. When she is back in her apartment, she posts the photo on her blog. In the blog, she identifies Jerry and explains the context in which the photo was taken. The story is read by many people both on and off campus. The next day, Jerry confronts Kate, yells at her for posting the photo, and demands that she remove it from the website. Now, Kate complies with Jerry's request by removing the photo, and the two of them remain friends. As a result of the incident, Jerry becomes more popular on campus, and the number of people who read Kate's blog increases. What is wrong? Was it wrong for Kate to post a picture of Jerry on her blog without first getting his permission? So if we look at this from a Kantian perspective, it's pretty obvious that this is going to be treating Jerry as a means to an ends, as a means to an ends for her blog. And so again, basically the summary here is that Kate is a journalism major, she has a blog, she chronicles life on campus, and she posted a photo of her friend without permission, but both of them benefited from the result of that photo getting posted. All right, so, but from a Kantian perspective, he did not like this initially, and this would be treating him as a means to an end because Kate did this for her blog, for her purposes and hoping to gain popularity or documenting whatever it is she wanted to do. She did this in a very public manner. So Kant is pretty clear on how we can perceive this. So let's look at the social contract theory. So the social contract here is going to talk about how they interacted. So the birthday party was held in the apartment of one of Jerry's friends, and it was a private setting among friends, and he had a legitimate expectation to essentially privacy. And we're going to talk more about privacy and the expectation of privacy in chapter, I think it's 5. Yeah, 4 is intellectual property, 5 will be our information privacy. So when we get there, we'll talk a little bit more about our right to privacy and what that means. So we're really focused on just Kate's actions in regards to that expectation, not whether or not it's fair for him to have that expectation. So he had an expectation of privacy, and by taking the photo of Jerry, she basically violated that privacy and violated that trust that they had, which would be a violation of the social contract. So that one's also really clear in this case, but let's take a look at the utilitarian perspective, which is, in this case, a lot more nuanced than the other formats we were looking at. So in a utilitarian perspective, at first, it's pretty clear that both in act and rule that this would not be something we want to do. It did not increase overall happiness for everyone. If you look at the blog before knowing the result, right, before knowing what happened out of it, we're going to say that this is a really bad choice because Jerry's really upset. He's angry about it. But if we look at what happened afterwards, both Jerry and Kate got benefits out of this. Jerry gained popularity, which means he probably gained friends, got invited to more parties, whatever it was, right? And Kate, her blog started taking off. She got more popular, people started reading it more. So from that perspective, they both gained in happiness an overall net benefit from her posting this, even though she later removed it. Now, from a rule utilitarian perspective, we're able to look at this and say that this is not something we should regularly do. What Kate walked into here was that rule of moral luck, that problem of moral luck, where the situation, the result of the situation basically depended on whether or not good things happened as a result. So if you remember from the crash course videos that we posted earlier in the semester, there was that conversation about if a thief walks up to a house and breaks in and ends up accidentally saving somebody by breaking a window, whether or not he was right or wrong to even begin breaking into the house in the first place. So that's basically the same situation we have here. Was that right or wrong? From a utilitarian perspective, ACT will say yes, and rule utilitarian will say no, because we cannot consistently allow this to happen, right? So from a rule utilitarian perspective, we cannot say that it is always okay to post that photo. From a virtue ethics standpoint, Kate and Jerry are friends, and Aristotle would recognize that people are social beings and that friendship plays an important role in the human flourishing. So there's a Greek word in here I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I am not that skilled at language. True friends trust each other and seek each other's good. Reciprocity and an equality of interest are fundamental elements of friendship. So without that trust, right, and reciprocity, there's a loss of virtue on Kate's part. So Kate took the picture sneakily and without his knowledge, and that comes across as exploitation, which does not bode well for her from the perspective of virtue ethics. But you can see here how which theory we use really determines whether or not we see something as right or wrong and what part of it we see as right or wrong, right? So if we look at the case study from the Kantian perspective, it's really because we used him to gain something for our own benefit. From the social contract theory, it's because we violated an expectation of social behavior. The utilitarian, it was about happiness and overall happiness and whether or not we can do a universal rule. And virtue ethics is about that individual interaction between friends, which I would argue that in our personal relationships, we probably use virtue ethics and social contract theory more than we use something like a utilitarian or Kantian perspective, because that's the type of interactions we have, right? We have a certain expectation of trust, of privacy, a relationship that we're expecting to grow and build on. So we tend to use those in our personal relationships. If we were talking about a stranger and another person, like two strangers in this situation, I think that would change which theory we would want to use here. I think a Kantian perspective would be a much stronger case. And I think that the utilitarian perspective would be a lot stronger case. But remember that you can choose whichever theory that you want to apply here as long as you can apply it consistently and evenly across the scenario. We're not looking to say, hey, this particular scenario is always going to be needing, a social contract perspective or a utilitarian perspective. You can look at all of these from all of the different perspectives, and that's fine. You just have to choose one and be able to apply that theory consistently. So you can choose one that makes the most sense to you to be applied, and you can disagree with the outcome. You don't necessarily have to agree with the outcome of the theory being applied. So for example, I think this was a wrong thing to do, but the ACT utilitarian says it was the right thing to do. So I can apply that theory and come to that conclusion from that theory, but I don't have to agree with it. All right, so the last case study that we're going to cover here is going to be from later on in the chapter we're actually going to cover one that doesn't really have an answer here, and it's going to be about the revenge porn in 3.8.7. We're going to talk about that case, and I'm going to kind of talk around it a little bit just because there's a lot of terminology in here, and this is going to get uploaded to YouTube. But we're going to talk about a little bit of what's going on in that, and a little bit about what kind of theories we could apply here and what that means in this particular case. So that one's going to be a little bit more serious, and it has perhaps a little bit more of a sensitive topic. So this is your, trigger warning here. If you feel like that's not a topic you're comfortable with, you can go ahead and skip the third case study.